All right, guys, let's do a rundown of how our orange project is going to look like when we are putting together a decision tree. We're training a decision tree to make a prediction about our data. So let's start out with a file. For my example, I'm just going to be using the already included iris dataset with orange. And our target is the categorical data, which is, the type of flower. Iris setosa, Iris versicolor, or Iris virginica. These are these different species of this flower, and the data is, determining which one is which. So, as always, I just like to put up a little data table here just so we can visualize it. And you can see that our iris column has different categorical data, so these different species of the flower. And this data is driving, the identifying factor of these species. So if we take this file and bring it into a tree, and then into a tree viewer, we can see how the decision tree is making determinations on what is, what values are most important in determining what the species of flower is. So you can see that it's chosen petal length and petal width as the two most important factors. It has made the determination that anything that is less than or equal to 1.9 is an iris setosa, and then anything that is greater than 1.9, we have to break it down further and look at the petal width. Anything less than or equal to 1.7 will be versicolor. Anything greater is virginica, and then it broke it down even further. So the decision tree is, finding the relation between the data and, whatever our target variable is. In this case, it's categorical data that is determining the species of this flower. So we can use this data to train, a prediction model and then feed more data into it. So the way this is set up is almost identical to the linear regression that we did. The only difference being, we're using a decision tree and a tree viewer instead, but now we can, bring this right into a prediction model. And then if we have another file here. I don't know if they already include some test data for the iris. They do not, which is totally fine. But this would be your test data. Remember, for your testing data, it's imperative that the table is set up identically. So in our particular example here, to feed test data into this file, I would need a table that's set up exactly like this, columns named the same and in the right order, and then I would need all this data of sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width all through here, and then the iris column would still have the title of iris, but everything in it would be blank, and all these values obviously would be different. And then I can take that file, feed it into the prediction, and then we go into that's it. So we just feed it into the prediction. Obviously it's not going to work because there's nothing in this file here, but this is how we'll be able to take a look at our decision tree and see how it's making determinations on our testing data. And then you could, obviously do other things with this, which we'll eventually get into as we cover more different types of learning algorithms. But for this project, this is essentially what your project is going to look like, your orange project is going to look like. So do some research online, find something that you think is interesting points of data that you can make predictions on. And if you are pulling data from something that already has the results of what you're looking at, that's totally fine. I would just say at that point, go in and see how accurate the model was at making the predictions of this data. So let's say you had, you're looking at sports teams, different season win records and things like that. or a particular statistic that you're trying to make predictions on. If you take, maybe the 2020 season to use as your training data, and then you're using the 2021 season as your testing data, just make sure that you obviously remove the already existing data to make the predictions work properly. And then when it's done, you can go back and see how accurate it was in making its predictions, which is also just a really interesting perspective to have when doing these kinds of assignments. So that's going to be it for this one. If you have any questions, always let me know, but I will see you guys in the next one.